as the Obama administration deletes any references to Islamic terrorism from these transcripts. Why not let the 911 calls stand on their own? Why not let the public come to its own conclusion? Is the administration trying to cover up the role of radical Islam in the Orlando shootings? We're all over it. I'm Trish Regan. Welcome, everyone, to the Intelligence Report. Attorney General Loretta Lynch announcing they have scrubbed the 911 transcripts for any reference to Islamic terrorism. When the killer's motives are critical to understanding why this happened and preventing another future attack, why not keep it there? I mean, certainly had he been a racist, someone motivated by radical anti-Latino sentiment, you think they'd be covering that up? Pretty doubtful. We're on it for you. Plus, new signs today of a rebellion brewing in the Republican Party, all designed to deny Donald Trump the nomination at the GOP convention, which is now just 1 month away. Hundreds of delegates reportedly planning to go rogue and set convention rules that will allow delegates to vote for whomever they want. And some say Paul Ryan just gave them the go-ahead by saying this.
The last thing I would do is tell anybody to do something that's contrary to their conscience. Of course I wouldn't do that.
Is this why Trump fired his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, today? And how can the party ever hope to take the White House if it still cannot unify? Meanwhile, we've got a big market rally, as I said at the top of the show, on our hands. Take a look at this. The Dow up nearly 200 points. S&P trading up 21. NASDAQ Composite Index up 65. This is all ahead of this week's critical vote that's happening in the UK about whether or not Great Britain is going to stay part of the European Union. The market seems to be betting, at least right now, that the Brits are going to vote to stay in. That's according to some new polls that came out of the UK, suggesting that, in fact, that's going to be the decision. I'll tell you, no matter what, it's going to have very serious implications for our economy, for our markets, your wallet, of course. We are going to discuss all of it. Meanwhile, let's get back to our top story. Everyone, moments ago, the FBI releasing the 911 transcripts of conversations between the gunman and police from that horrific night in Orlando, but they only released part of them. The White House has demanded officials redact any reference to ISIS, any reference to Islam. The reason? Because officials do not want to give ISIS any more notoriety than it already has. Watch.
We're not going to propagate violent rhetoric that comes from other people, whether they be here or overseas, and to do that would only inflame other people here that might be like-minded.
Is further proclaim this individual's pledges of allegiance to terrorist groups and further his propaganda.
So we're not going to hear him talk about those things?
We will hear him talk about some of those things, but we're not going to hear him make his assertions of allegiance and that. This will not be audio. This will be a printed transcript, but it will begin to capture the back and forth between him and the negotiators.
Let me show you right now a graphic of the transcripts. This is what they look like now, and they have the shooter's pledge to ISIS now omitted. Joining me right now is Zuhdi Jasser, the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Dr. Jasser, good to see you. I want your take on this. Is this a mistake to delete the killer's references to Islam?
It is completely a mistake, Trish, and you know that redaction is sort of the blasphemy invoked from, sadly, from our democracy, that we can't even be treated like adults, that we can deal with this in a way that we should be trusted. And they're enabling the radicals, and actually they are, I think, derelict in their duty. This is a time of war. Our commander-in-chief should treat us like adults. And by the way, to say that somehow the militants all over the world are going to use his 911 speech or the transcript to create more incentive is just hogwash, because the jihadist website's already rife with calling this guy a hero. I'm sure they will find other ways. Just look what they did with Nidal Hassan, with the Chattanooga shooting, with the Boston bombings. It didn't need a 911 tape to tip it over to stimulate more, but rather what they're doing is preventing the American public, and by the way, reformist Muslims, from listening to this and demanding that our community deal with this, because the administration doesn't want to deal with the fact that we are at war. They want to continue down the psychiatric, the crime, the gun narrative, instead of the truth, which is that we are at war with Islamism.
You know, it feels like they're just kind of burying their head in the sand on this one. Let me share with you, Dr. Jasser, what Loretta Lynch said about how she wants to make sure that we learn everything we possibly can about this killer. Here she is over the weekend.
Well, that certainly is our goal. And as you can see from this investigation, we are going back and learning everything we can about this killer, about his contacts, people who may have known him or seen him, and we're trying to build that profile so that we can move forward.
Wouldn't that profile then include the fact that he sympathized with radical Islam?
Absolutely. And by the way, who's the we here? I thought they represent the American people. So we as Americans and Muslims who want to reform and want to deal with the issue need to be able to hear what exactly this radical said so that we can begin to help trace the traces of ideology from the father, from the community, from organizations that this person may have been a part of in order to dissect and help do the counterterrorism and counter-ideology. By the way, you can't get past ignoring the hypocrisy of an administration who in Benghazi said that the video played a role in this propaganda and they wanted to blame it on ideology, while here they want to protect us from even having that conversation. The hypocrisy is just unbelievable.
Dr. Jasser, why not? Why do they feel that they have to protect us? What are they protecting us from?
They're protecting us from an exposure of the fact that our allies like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, the Muslim Brotherhood, who this administration likes to work closely with, are actually the ones that are the intoxicant of the ideas that once you start talking as adults about radical Islamism and anti-Americanism and all of the things he said in here, and it becomes something you can feel that is an ideology that this man had, then all of a sudden we have to deal with the reform. They don't want us to have that because they think Americans are going to become anti-Muslim, bigoted, when in fact they're protecting us from this is actually going to stimulate more hate towards Muslims because we can't have the conversation and it gets compressed and withheld.
Wow. Dr. Jasser, thank you very much. Good to have your perspective on this today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Trish.